Welcome to the Winning in Business podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Rissy, and I love talking to business professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are winning in business. Are you ready to reach your next level of success? If so, join us on the Winning in Business podcast as I interview entrepreneurs, business professionals, and leaders who share how they've risen to success. Before we begin, go ahead, hit subscribe and the notification button so you'll be notified each time a new episode is released. Plug in and settle in. You're about to be inspired to rise up to your next level of success. Welcome back to Winning in Business. I am your host, Kelly Rissy, and today I am so excited to be interviewing Derlene Hirtz. Darlene helps high-achieving entrepreneurs, business owners, and sales professionals who are ready to level up their success, including business, relationships, and finances. Her clients come to her when they have hit a wall and realize they have more potential and cannot reach it on their own. Derlene Hirtz is the Chief Empowerment Officer at You Empowered Services. She is a transformational success coach, Neuro Linguistics Programming trainer, and professional speaker. Darlene is also the author of the bestseller, Journey of Intention, and the international best-selling book, Fearless and Fabulous. Darlene is an expert in helping transform lives to unstoppable success. She brings her extensive NLP training, years as an educator, director of education, trainer, and professional success coach to help others gain a positive attitude, lasting motivation, increased sales, and overall more happiness and fulfillment in life and business. And her greatest love is being a Gigi to 4 grandchildren and being a wife, mom, daughter, and a friend. So let's welcome Darlene. I'm so excited that you are here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you. I am super excited to be joining you as well, Kelly. It's just going to be a fun time for sure.
Yes, it is. We're going to have an awesome conversation. And I say that because as someone who has been through your NLP training here in the local area of St. Louis, I know we're going to get into some really good stuff here. So I'm excited about that. So before we dive into that, why don't you tell everybody, how did you get into what you do? I mean, you told us a little bit about your journey, but I know there's more. So how did you end up as a trainer, as a coach, and as a speaker?
Well, it's really interesting because it kind of always seems to start with the people that I meet along the way with something personal that happens to us, right? And so I guess probably that part of my journey is that, you kind of get hit with a 2x4, like, hey, maybe this isn't the place that you should be, or maybe it's time to move on. And we either, acknowledge it or not. And when we don't acknowledge it, well, another 2x4 comes along and whacks us again. And after my second 2x4, I kind of went, I think that I'm being called to do other things. And it really was I will call it a dark journey that I was on. Had a huge amount of self-doubt, a lack of self-confidence, just because I realized along the way that I was in a very toxic environment that I was working in. And I didn't recognize it as such because literally I'd shifted to survival, right? And, whenever you're in that low point, you are unable to really see that maybe somebody else would like to have you at their organization. And so I never did go seek jobs or anything because it was just like, who would want me? Because I was just so low on the pole with all of those feelings of self-doubt and negativity, the whole thing. I mean, it was just on and on. And so the day came where I literally said to God, I'm done. If you want me today, hey, I'm yours. And then I thought, what if God doesn't want me? What happens then? Mm-hmm. And that thought and saying that out loud, I literally cried out to God. And that's what moved me into action. I made a phone call to a woman who really introduced me to NLP, and flew out there, took vacation from work and flew out there and got certified and just have never looked back.
Excellent. So, for you, now that you are, and you know, before then, you were not a business owner, right? You were in more of a job. And so now, being someone who owns a very successful six-figure business, what are some of the ahas that you want to share with people? So it could be mindset, skills, qualities, other 2x4s that have hit you in the head, like
A couple of those too.
just what do you want to share with my audience today that you found has so helpful to your success?
So one of the things that I believe is absolutely essential for an entrepreneur is that I always say the first order of business is get comfortable being uncomfortable. And the moment that you feel you're comfortable, you better find a way to be uncomfortable again. Because in this world, in entrepreneurship and in being a business owner, the one thing that you must do is show up. You must show up physically, mentally, emotionally. You got to be on it. And the moment that complacency or comfortableness, I don't know, whatever that word is, when you find yourself too comfortable, then you better start rocking the boat. Because if you don't rock it, guess what happens? Somebody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah. And, you know, I know you mentioned just like being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I know that there are other listeners that are in the corporate world. And I think this is the same for them, because as you move up the ladder, right, and as you're taking on new positions, I think we can, you know, all get into that imposter syndrome. And yet we just have to get used to being uncomfortable.
Yes, 100%. And I also feel like sometimes we get ourselves uncomfortable and then think, oh my God, what I do, right? and so it's just know that that's the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that well, for me, it's absolutely essential. So one of the very first things that I did when I knew that I was, well, actually when I no longer had a job, as I say, I joined Toastmasters because I knew that I wanted to be a speaker. And I also knew that I wasn't a good, effective speaker, that there's always room for growth. So I joined Toastmasters and had an amazing experience with some great people and still belong to Toastmasters today. I'm sporting my Toastmasters sweatshirt, y'all, just so you know, that's what I have a sweatshirt on for, excuse me. And that also allowed me to gain the confidence to be in front of people. Because one of the things I joined Toastmasters because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. If I'm on stage, what happens? And like the really funny thing is if you forget what you say, nobody else knows you were going to say it anyway. So there's that, right? So that's one of the ahas that I would think. The other,
Can we spend a second and talk about Toastmasters too? In case people don't know about Toastmasters, like, I don't know, let's just give them a plug for a minute, because to me, I'm also a member of Toastmasters, and it's done more for me in other areas, right? So there's something that's called table topics, and you just throw out a question and then you have to stand up and talk about it. That was one of the things that really helped me. I am so much better at, if I know what I'm going to say, I have a planned speech prepared, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm really good at that. It goes back to my theater days. I'm good at remembering stuff. It's when it's the on the spot questions. That's what I felt was good. And also, do you agree? Like, how many people stumble over just when someone asks, what do you do? Right? Like, simple questions, that being able to be aware of how you're speaking and how it's coming across. Like, what's your take on everything that Toastmasters does for people?
I love what you just said. It is so true. The table topics are such an essential part of being an entrepreneur, really, because people just put you on the spot all the time. And that was one of the places that I found myself getting comfortable. I really enjoyed table topics. I love the opportunity to challenge myself on that. And so I thought, well, what could be the next thing? And so I joined improv because I knew that I could not be more uncomfortable than doing improv. And so the table topics, of course, the prepared speeches are always great, especially as a professional speaker. We sort of practice our craft on our audience and get some great feedback. And then I also love the leadership component of it. There are so many different opportunities to be a leader in that organization. And it can be a leader anywhere from actually being a part of the leadership to being the table topics master that day, so there's always an opportunity to step in and step up. And
Yeah.
I think that's really fabulous.
And I think that people have the misconception that Toastmasters is only for professional speakers. Now, a lot of professional speakers have been in Toastmasters, which is that's what's led them to where they are today. And yet there are corporate chapters as well, because if you're giving a sales pitch, if you're standing up talking about your product, like no matter what you're doing, it's learning to be a little bit more comfortable. And public speaking is the greatest fear ever.
Oh, 100%. I mean, really, that's part of the story of Toastmasters with me. Was the first time I opened my mouth in public at 16 years old and completely fumbled and stumbled and created an environment where I didn't believe I was capable of speaking in public, and made a limiting decision, is what we call it in our world. And now looking back on that, I see how courageous and brave I was to even open my mouth. Nobody else would even open their mouth. It just, unfortunately, what came out was gobbledygook, but whatever. So that was just a really fun, just a fun thing to kind of look back and reflect on and think, well, look how far I've come.
Yeah. And I have seen you present before, and you are a wonderful speaker. You always incorporate stories. You add humor, because we know that you have Derleneisms, as you call them, and sometimes they show up in your talks. And so whether it's from NLP, whether it's from Toastmasters, everything combined together that you do, you really are a great presenter. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Anyway, on with your other things of success.
So I would say that another opportunity that we have that I would say that I've really learned from is that make sure that you are listening to the people that you're paying for. And by that, I mean, like the easiest way for me to say this is that when women find out they're pregnant and they share their pregnancy with somebody, they have to tell them their horror stories. Oh my gosh, and I feel like that's exactly what can happen as a new entrepreneur or business owner. You get out there and you've got all these people giving you their experiences, their opinions and whatever. So what I think is so important is to listen to the people that you're paying for, because they are the experts. That's what you hired them for, and give a nice thank you to the rest, and maybe just turn a deaf ear to it or whatever. And I'm not saying that all the advice is bad, but I can tell you that there are conflicts, most likely, with the person that you're actually paying that money to, if you will.
Yeah. So listening, if you have hired a coach of any kind, basically listen to them.
Yes.
And not maybe your neighbor or your best friend who is not in the industry that you're in and really does not know what's going on. Listen to the experts.
100%.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Mm-hmm.
And I think probably one more that I would share is that one of the gifts of networking and being out is being very aware of who you're surrounding yourself with, and very mindful of keeping that circle one that serves you. So by that, I mean that one of the greatest things that I love about this is that I'm constantly surrounded by like-minded people. And people think because I focus on the science and study of excellence and mindset that I'm always woohoo. And that's not true. That would be like a flat out lie, right? But the difference is that when you, number one, have the training, and number two, surround yourself by the right people, when those moments hit, that's all they are moments. It doesn't become this whole cesspool that you're constantly twirling around in and having those pity parties, which we both know nobody ever shows up to but us. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just so important to make sure you're surrounded by the right people that support you in that.
Yeah. And I feel like, really looking at that inner circle and knowing that different people can serve different purposes in your life. And knowing when to be around certain people, I think, is also really impactful, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, there are some people that we might be friends with, but we know they're not going to build us up, lift us up. They just, maybe they're family and they're in our lives. And knowing that they hold a very special place in our lives, if they are our family, and yet also having the people that can really understand, connect, and can bring that positivity and the truth to you as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely so true. And I've had somebody say just recently, somebody said to me, well, gosh, if you want me to keep that negativity out of my life, well, it's like my family. What do I do with them? Right. And so I always explain things in terms of a concentric circle. The people who, it doesn't mean that we have to stop loving our whatever, our spouse or our siblings or our parents or whatever. It's just that sometimes we get to move them out just a little further out so that we can stay protected in our goals, in our dreams, in our mission. I mean, I always say we're passionate about 1,000 things, but when you take that passion and you make it a focus, it becomes your mission. And I believe that that's what I do now is every day I go out and I live my mission of empowering and supporting people.
Yeah. And for you, empowering and supporting people, what do you do that through?
So I do that through a couple of things. I do that through success coaching with being very mindful of what it is that my clients want and then helping them achieve it. Mm-hmm. And then the Neuro Linguistics Programming, NLP, which is probably my greatest passion, if you will, therefore my mission. Mm-hmm. And that is a program that we offer here in St. Louis. I was certified out on the West Coast, brought it here, and we're building a really pretty cool community here on it. And so NLP is the science and study of human excellence. That's one way to say it. I would tell you the way that I would share with you what NLP is really gaining the tools to help you achieve, believe, become whomever, whatever, however it is that that you are designed to be. Because I think innately we know that we are all called to be more than what we're showing up as. I believe that. And we have a whole world that is telling us how to do that and even who to be, how to be, what to be. And so then we get into this huge incongruence with ourselves, right? And what I love about NLP is the tools that we gain there and the transformation that occurs through all of the techniques. We just, one day we wake up and we can say, I'm going to be who I want to be, and I am not going to be that person that you want me to be. Mm-hmm. And then gain the communication tools in order to have that conversation so that, again, you don't kick them out of your life. You just readjust that in your life.
Something that you said, for the people that are just like, oh, well, I say affirmations and I, am just very positive, like everything's fine and I don't need NLP. What would you say to that? Right? Because there are people that truly are like, well, I say affirmations every day. I'm fine. I don't need anything else.
Yes. And I say, well, hooray for you. And call me whenever that doesn't work anymore, because that's a very conscious way of affirming who you are. So if you stand in front of the mirror and you say, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy, and you really are not happy, you are just lying to yourself. It's just like, you can pretend all you want, but it's still energy. If I tell you I'm happy and inside I am like, imploding, that still shows up as imploding when you see me. So no matter what we tell ourselves. Now, I think it's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. I have my clients that when they come to me and they're in a particular place, that's what we do. We start with the affirmations because I have to move them somehow, right? And yes, that is a great place to start. However, there's always something at the root of why it is that you're not happy. What happened that made you choose not to be happy? And that is the work that I love doing the most, is really offering those tools to people who really want to get at the root cause, because that is where transformation and change really happens. And that's always at the unconscious level. And that's what NLP, one of the things that they offer the most is true transformation, true change, and permanent change. Once we realign our neurology, you can't go back unless you work really hard at going back, right?
Right. And I think what you said is it is so important, just about getting to the root of it, because so many people just want the how, like, how can I change? How to do, okay, well, I can give you all the steps, but if you haven't gotten to the root of it, right? And as we know, the problem's never the problem. So then it's really having someone, whether you go through your training, a coach, whatever that looks like, to get you, to help you to see the root, because we can't always see the root of our own problems. And we typically need someone helping us see them.
Yes, that is so true, because we can only see from our perspective, right? So we only see
we walk around with blinders on.
We do. And so we need that person that can ask us the questions for us to have those aha moments. And I'll be completely transparent. Just this week, now, you and I both know how much work I am constantly doing on myself. My goal is to just be an extraordinary human. And in order for that to happen, tomorrow I get to be better than I am today, and so on and so forth. And so I was having a conversation with my coach this week, and I realized that there's still a lot more of my voice inside of me that I don't let out. And so that was the topic of our conversation, and why is that, and how is that, and all the things. And I realized that everywhere in my life, this shows up, everywhere where I hold my tongue, where I don't say what I believe I should say to help somebody, or to move the conversation, or to shake them. And it all stemmed from way back, when my dad said to me one time, hey, I ask you to do something. I don't care what you think. I don't want to hear your opinion. None of that, just do it. And my neurology stored that as my opinion isn't valuable. Just smile and be happy. Act happy. That's probably a better way of saying that. And I did that for many years, and it shows up in the craziest ways, And what we came to realize, we were actually talking about something personal, and at that particular moment when I realized how that shows up in every area of my life, it was just like a domino effect, just boom, 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 boom. And now I can do something about it, right? And now, like I did a speaking engagement this morning, and I was like totally on fire. And I believe it's because I started really pulling back the curtain at what's been holding me back. And I know that if I still have these huge aha moments, then everyone else gets that opportunity as well.
So I'm curious, Darlene, we know that I feel like no matter how long you've been in business, there are still challenges. What do you feel like as a business owner you still experience as your challenges, whether they be personal, professional, or bleed together?
Let's see. So really, I think as a business owner, the always being on, in the sense of, like sometimes I'll run out and I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I don't run into too many people that I see out in the networking world. And I guess that's probably more personally, and personally, as well as is so important to have a supportive spouse if you're married, because they're long nights, and sometimes they're nights that are tearful, and, when things aren't going your way. And I think doing what I do, it's always looking for the people that you can help. Always, always, always. So always being out there. I think that is, as much as I love meeting people, you and I laugh about that all the time. Sometimes, you just, I don't know, would like to just kind of be incognito at a networking event and just enjoy it. Right. And so I think that those are two of the challenges. The other challenge for me in my particular business is helping people see the importance of investing in themselves. We were just talking about that earlier at an event that I was at, is if people do not understand that your mindset is 90% of your success and 10% of that is action. And when people take action with the wrong mindset, just creates this definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And the only way to move past that is by shifting your perspective, shifting whatever it is. And it is just, sometimes it's exhausting. I'll just be real transparent to try to pull back the curtain so that people can see that they are their greatest investment. And if we do not take care of that inner, that outer is never, ever going to be fulfilled. It might monetarily, the new car, the new purse, whatever, but never, ever on a permanent basis.
And I think sometimes, people think, well, I'm doing fine. Okay, well, you might be doing fine. And yet, if you shifted a very few things, could you be doing amazing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, is that like when you get to your end days, is fine okay with you? You know what I mean? Because there's so many people we can impact in the world. There's so many things that we can be doing in the world. And if everything is just fine, is that how you want to go out? That's not how I want to go out personally.
Yeah. Well, 5,000%. I agree. And I operate by the universal law. What does it say? We're always moving forward or we're moving backwards. We are never, ever staying the same.
Right.
And for me, I've already been back there. I don't need to experience that anymore. Done. Moving forward. And even if it's just a micro step, it's still forward.
Yeah.
And I believe that with every bit of my being is I've got either a forward movement or a backward movement, because treading water just really doesn't happen.
Yeah. And personally, I'm not good at treading water.
Well, there's that.
So that would not be good for me at all. So question for you, as we approach into the new year, what are your goals? What are your goals for 2023, personally and professionally? Like what's on your list of things to do for 2023?
So, well, we'll just start personally again, because I've got some cool stuff going on. I'm going to a conference. I'm calling it a spiritual conference in January that I'm super, super excited about. I see it as a space to, grow personally. And I am writing a book right now. It's called Finding My Hallelujah. And I believe that this is all part of the divine design to create that experience to happening. My goal is to have the rough draft finished by August 1st. So that's pretty cool. I want to fill every NLP boot camp with a minimum of 20 people. So that's 100 people throughout the year that I'm looking to help, and fill my NLP classes with 20 students each. And so those are really great goals. They are achievable goals if I show up, and I will, because that is what I do best. And so that's really, really exciting. And if I was putting a dollar amount on it, let's just go ahead and talk dollars, because that's what most people avoid.
Yeah.
I look at absolutely minimum in my coaching business would be $200,000 for the coaching, and in my training business, $250,000. And I think both of those are reasonable this year if I put in the work for it.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about being in this area and taking your NLP classes, your training, is that, you said 20 people in the class, and that is something that is so valuable that it's not 500 or 100. It's the small, intimate setting where you can learn and you can transform, because you're doing what we call modalities, right? To help you shift, to help you get out of the way. And that happens, I don't know, just with that small group. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's certainly very intimate. And that was a decision my business partner and myself made when we were planning this out, is that it would be small groups. I have well, I have a desire to be on stage speaking to thousands of people. I have no desire to train 500 people at one time, because my whole goal is truly to transform the world. And in order for that to happen, it has to be true total transformation, or completely transformative, so that the person that experiences that then goes on and they do their part in transforming the world. Because I know I can't do this all on my own. I mean, that is doggone sure. And however, if I affect one life, the potential of the lives that are affected by that can be infinite if that continues. And so that's really why I love having it very intimate, having a cap on the number of students that we have. I just think it's a very quality kind of decision that we made.
Yeah. And I think that, can make a difference too, because then, the right 20 people are in the room, so that's great. So to make this extra cool, what is one accomplishment that you would like to share that you are super proud of?
Oh, let's see. One accomplishment that I'm super proud of. I guess I would say that, having $250,000 on the books within 3 years, as a coach and trainer, I think that was pretty exciting. It was something that I never dreamed possible. The most I'd ever made in a year was $52,000, and I was quote unquote capping out at that. And the way that I would say that is, back in the days when I would allow somebody to determine my value, I no longer do that. I now get to determine that on my own. And I think that's probably one of the coolest accomplishments. I don't know, there's just so many things about when I look back even 7 or 8 years ago that I'm so in love with myself. Maybe that's another great accomplishment, is because there was a time when I could have never, ever said that. Because first of all, I wasn't even sure what love was, much less could I have said that about myself. And I think I'm a pretty cool dude now, so do that.
I think that is one of the greatest things that women can grow and really learn how to love and accept themselves as they are. We are our worst critics. And as women, that comes out a lot in our head. And when we can really turn that into love, I mean, that's something that I have worked on a lot over the past 5 years to get where I am today, and how much better it is. You know what I mean? When you can truly love yourself. So
sure, you just made me think of something when you said we are our own worst critics. And really, when you think about that, where do we even get an understanding of what we should look like? Because as you and I know that we're created in the image and likeness of an amazing God. And so who are we to criticize that? And it's just that we have this environment called social media, called toxic friendships, called fill in the blank, that is defining their perspective of beauty or success or whatever. And so then somehow we take on that criticism of ourselves and begin the lashing of that. And speaking of that, one of my personal goals this year is to release some more weight. If I was going to give it a number, I would say 45 pounds. And I know that for health reasons, that's going to be amazing. And I also know that I will not beat myself up if it doesn't happen. I will, again, look at, adjust, coach around it, see what's going on, do all the things that I do, right, for others.
Right.
And move forward. But gone are the days of me beating myself up over stuff like that. It just serves no purpose at all, other than hurtful stuff.
Right. Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for being here today. Where can we lead the audience to connect with you? Is it like website? What do we got? Website, LinkedIn, Facebook?
So I'm on LinkedIn as Derlene Hirtz.
Okay. And I'll put all the links in there. Just you tell the people. So we got LinkedIn at Derlene Hirtz.
Okay. My website is You Empowered Services.
Okay.
And on Facebook, I am Derlene Hirtz. You'll see a Darlene Reeves Hirtz that looks exactly like me. Facebook hates me and shut that one down.
but it's just Derlene Hirtz. So LinkedIn and Facebook are the same, Derlene Hirtz.
Yeah.
And then you have You Empowered Services. And on your website, can people learn more about your boot camp and the trainings that you do?
Yes, they can learn about the coaching, the speaking, the training. All of those things are on there.
Okay, perfect. So listeners, as someone who has gone through Darlene's program and know the impact that it has made, I invite you to check that out for sure. And I'm sure if you mention that you heard this podcast and this is where you met Darlene, I'm sure she will.
I don't know. How about if we give you about $60 off the boot camp?
Perfect. Excellent. See, I figured she would do that for you. So Darlene, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all your tips and spending time with me today.
Thank you. It was a complete honor, and sure has been a lot of fun. It's always kind of fun to do a professional conversation with you because Kelly and I are friends. Yeah. And we spend a lot of time just being girlfriends together. And so this is kind of fun doing it in a professional setting.
Yeah, this was awesome. All right. So listeners, thank you for tuning in today. And I would love if you would like and subscribe and then comment below. Also, share this with your friends because you never know what tips you will hear on winning in business that they will also hear. So pass this along and I will catch you next week. Thank you for being a part of the Winning in Business podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to rise up to your next level of success, but are worried about increased stress, time for work and yourself and your family, not to mention being exhausted, I'd like to invite you to a complimentary strategy call where I'll show you how you can do it all. I'll help you reclaim time, keep your sanity, handle the chaos with ease, and move to the next level of success that you deserve and desire. I hope you found value in listening today. Please always leave your comments, feedback, or questions. We check them all. I want you to continue winning in business and reach your next level of success. See you next time.